I still can't believe this is mine, I said, twirling in the empty living room. The echo of my own voice made me grin. 3 bedrooms, hardwood floors, and a backyard. You did good, Amelia, Natalie said, popping the champagne. Finally, out of that showbox apartment, I laughed, catching the cork midair. You have no idea. I was eating off a folding tray for 5 years. No couch, no bed frame. Just saving spreadsheets and frozen meals. You deserve this, I did. Every blister from hospital shifts, every dollar tracked in my budget app. And now, here I was, standing on my own hardwood floor. Not someone else's rented one. My parents arrived at 6 sharp. I opened the door with the biggest smile I could. Mustard. Double quotes. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Come in. I stepped aside. Tiffany's here too. Of course, Mom said, brushing past me. She wanted to see your new place. Tiffany walked in behind them, her eyes scanning the space like it was a staged set. Wow, she said flatly. Must be nice. I flinched. Thanks for coming. As they stepped into the kitchen, I guided them round. This is the original wood. I'm planning to sand it and keep the cabinets. I love the bones of the place. My dad tapped the counter. Looks like a lot of work. I swallowed. Yeah, but I'm excited. How many bedrooms? Mom asked, opening a closet without waiting for an answer. 3. One's my room, one's an office, and the third's a guest room. That's a lot of space for just you, she said with a raised brow. It's not that big, Mom. I mean, they're small rooms. She walked past me. We sat around the borrowed folding table, eating the pasta I made. I filled the silence. I was thinking of planting hydrangeas near the fence. The sun hits just right in the morning. Tiffany stopped her food. So you're, like, a homeowner now, officially. Yep, closed last week. Must be nice, she said again. This time, she didn't even look at me. I glanced at my parents. They didn't react. I saved for this for years, I said, keeping my voice calm. I pack lunch every single shift. Skipped every vacation. I wanted this. That's good, honey, Mom said. But her eyes were on Tiffany. I sipped my wine slowly. It means a lot to me that you're all here. Dad finally looked up. What's the mortgage like? Fixed or variable? Fixed. I got pre-approved months ago. The rate's decent. He nodded. Property taxes. I recited the number. He just nodded again. You planning on living here alone? Tiffany asked. Yes, right? Just asking. There it was again. That tone. Like I'd stolen something. You okay? I asked. She shrugged. Just thinking. That's all. Well, I'm proud of you, Natalie offered. You worked for this. Every inch of it. Exactly, I said, trying to anchor my smile. This is mine. Not gifted. Not inherited. Mine. The table grew quiet again. Mom finally broke the silence. Well, it's certainly something. Not beautiful. Not impressive. Just something. After they left, I stood at the window, looking out at my new yard. Natalie stood beside me. They weren't exactly thrilled. No, I whispered. They weren't. You okay? Not really. But I will be. She hugged me. It's your house, Amelia. Don't let anyone dim that. I nodded, swallowing the knot in my throat. The room felt a little colder now. Not from the air, from the doubt that crept in. What was that tone in Tiffany's voice? What did Mom mean by a lot of space for just you? Why did Dad ask about the mortgage like he didn't trust I'd thought it through? They hadn't said congratulations. Not once. My phone rang just after 9 p.m. Dad. Yes. You busy? No. Just organizing some kitchen shelves. What's up? He cleared his throat. Your mother and I wanted to talk about the house. I froze, and hovering over a coffee mug. Okay, we thought you'd consult us before finalizing the purchase. I did. I told you I was looking. I even invited you over after closing. That's not the same as involving us in the decision-making. I bought it with my money. What decision was left for you? Silence. Is this about the guest room again? Amelia, he said, tone suddenly formal. Your sister doesn't have the same financial head start you had. Head start? I worked double shifts for a decade. I lived like a student until I was 30. Yes. But you've always been better at saving, at planning. I leaned on the counter, trying not to yell. And Tiffany hasn't. That's not on me. We were hoping you'd consider including her. Including her how? On the deed, he said flatly. So she has long-term security. I blinked. You want me to give Tiffany half my house? Well, not give, just share. You have space. She needs stability. Is this a joke? No. Put Tiffany on the title of a house I bought entirely by myself. Family looks out for each other. I laughed. Bitterly. That's rich coming from you, Amelia. I cut him off. Where was this concern for family when I needed a root canal and had to beg you for a $700 loan? That's not relevant. It is to me. You made me feel guilty for needing help while covering Tiffany's car insurance for 5 straight years. She's still finding her footing. She's 29. Dad, a pause. Then, you don't need all that space alone. Unbelievable. We assumed, given your career instability, that you'd want to help. So you just decided, without asking me, that I'd share my house with Tiffany. It seemed reasonable. To who? You, Mom? Her? To all of us? Kim, my mother's voice. She'd picked up another line. Amelia, you know your sister struggles. Then she should try harder. I didn't get handed anything. We're not saying she gets the house. Mom added, we're saying, maybe if you live together, you both benefit, live together. Are you serious? I just got over 500 square foot apartment. You think I want a roommate again, let alone her. She's your sister. And this is my house. You've always been so possessive of your things, Mom said gently. Possessive of things I worked for. I'm just saying, it wouldn't kill you to be generous. I went cold. You think I'm not generous. We know you have a good heart. She offered quickly. That's why we thought you'd understand. No, you thought I'd roll over like always? That's not fair. She began. It is. Every time Tiffany made a mess, you threw everything you had at cleaning it up. But when I needed support, you assumed I'd figure it out. We trusted you could handle things. Dad said, yeah, because I didn't give you a choice. A beat of silence. I worked every weekend through college. I whispered, I missed birthdays, holidays, and you barely noticed. Now you're just being dramatic. Mom said softly, no, I'm remembering. We're not trying to hurt you, honey. We just want to secure everyone's future. Funny how securing the future always seems to mean me sacrificing mine. That's not how we see it, but it's what you're asking. Another pause. You won't even think about it. Dad asked. No, I won't. Then maybe we need to have a more serious discussion. Are you threatening me? We're just saying there are other ways to resolve this. Like what? I hissed. Legal ones? No answer. You know what? I've gotta go. Amelia, I ended the call. I stood in the middle of my kitchen, staring at the muted TV in the living room, heart pounding. My hand shook as I opened a drawer and slammed it shut again. I couldn't stop thinking, couldn't stop replaying it. I remembered my 13th birthday when I baked my own cake because Tiffany had thrown a tantrum and Mom forgot. The time I got accepted into nursing school and no one came to my interview dinner because Tiffany had crashed her car. The way Dad had once told me, you'll be fine, you always are. Like that excused them from ever checking on me. They didn't expect me to succeed, they expected me to absorb damage. My hands curled into fists. All I ever wanted was their pride. And now that I had a house, they didn't say well done, they said, share it. I had to sit. I sank onto the floor, back against the cabinet, head in my hands. They hadn't come to celebrate. They'd come to scout the property. The envelope looked too official to be junk mail. Minneapolis District Court. I read aloud. My stomach dropped. I tore open the papers. Stamped. Signed. Civil complaint. Thomas and Diane Walker versus Amelia Walker. I blinked. Cause of action. Breach of verbal family agreement. What? My voice cracked. Relief sought. Transfer of partial property rights or financial compensation. I stopped reading. They were suing me. My parents were suing me. I dropped the papers. My knees hit the floor. No sound came out. Just my breath. Ragged and dry. I sat there. In my house, the house I bought, staring at legal text that said I owed my sister a home. For the first time since moving in, the silence felt like punishment. I don't know how long I sat there. But when the front door creaked open, I didn't even move. Amelia, Natalie called out. I couldn't speak. She walked in, saw the papers, and crouched beside me. What's this? I pointed. Couldn't form words. She picked them up and started reading. Her expression changed from confusion to disbelief to fury. Oh my God, she whispered. They're actually suing you. I nodded. For what? Because I didn't give Tiffany my house. She flipped through the pages. They're claiming you had a verbal agreement to provide housing. I choked on a dry laugh. A verbal agreement that never existed. This is insane, isn't it? She reached for my hand. Amelia, you need a lawyer. I need a family, I said. But apparently that ship has sunk. I'm serious. This isn't just toxic anymore. It's legal. It's dangerous. I stood up slowly. My knees ached. They actually went through with it. They didn't just threaten it. They did it. You need to respond legally, fast. I walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, closed it. I wasn't hungry. Just trying to breathe. Natalie followed me. You want me to call someone? I know a woman. My sister's divorce lawyer. Fierce. Smart. Yeah, maybe. They crossed a line. Amelia, I don't think there's a line anymore. She paused. How are you not screaming right now? I already did. Before you came in, nothing left. They're attacking your life, your independence. This house. I turned to face her. They looked me in the eye and asked me to split this house with Tiffany. I said no, and instead of accepting that, they did this. Natalie's voice hardened. They didn't just ignore your boundary. They're trying to erase it. I stared at the wall behind her. My home sweet home sign suddenly felt like a punchline. What if they win? I whispered. They won't. What if the judge believes them? They won't. You've got receipts. Amelia. Emails. Proof. Their case is built on assumptions and entitlement. I sat at the table, head in my hands. I just wanted a house, a place that was mine. You still have it. Do I? Or is it evidence now? Natalie sat beside me. You're going to fight this, and you're going to win. But first, you need representation. I can't afford a long legal battle. You can't afford not to. We'll figure it out. I looked at her. Why are you always the calm one? Because someone has to be. And you've held your whole family together for too long. Now it's your turn to let someone else hold you up. I didn't say anything. She squeezed my hand. This isn't about money. It's about control. They think if they make enough noise, you'll cave. They're not wrong. That's how it's always been. Not this time. I stood up, pacing. My brain felt like it was tearing in half. They're going to tell people, family, friends, twist the story. Let them. You have truth. That's stronger than gossip. I looked at the complaint again. There it was, in black and white. Allegations, false ones, accusing me of betrayal, when all I'd done was say no. Natalie held up her phone. Do you want me to text Lisa, my sister's attorney? Yes, I said, please. She started typing. I stared at the floor, then the table, then my own hands. They didn't feel like mine anymore. A beat passed. I think I just hit my breaking point. I whispered. No, she said softly. This is your turning point. I sat back down, trembling. What kind of parents do this? The kind who love one child and use the other. It hurt to hear, because it sounded true. Natalie looked up. Lisa can see you tomorrow at 4. I already booked it. Thanks. Bring every document, every message. We'll build your wall. I nodded. I didn't want a war. I know. But now they've declared one. Then we stood up. I almost smiled. Almost. I stood up again. Slower this time. I'm going to make tea. I'll get the mugs. As we moved around the kitchen in silence, something settled in me. Not peace, not yet. But something colder, sharper. If they wanted a fight, I'd stop being the daughter they expected. They wanted me quiet. I'd get loud. You ever feel like your whole life was prep for a job you never applied for? I asked. Dr. Mercer tilted her head. Can you explain that? I was always the responsible one, the planner. The rock. Everyone just assumed I'd take care of things. And who assigned you that role? My parents. Tiffany didn't get one. She just existed. What do you mean? She was the chaos. I was the cleanup crew. Dr. Mercer nodded. What did that look like growing up? I stared at the window. I color-coded my school binders. She forgot hers at home. I cooked dinner at 14 when they work late. She couldn't even microwave popcorn. Did your parents acknowledge the difference? Oh, they loved saying it. Amelia's so mature. Tiffany's free-spirited. Translation. I was invisible. She was entertaining. What did that feel like? I laughed bitterly. Exhausting, lonely. But I didn't realize it until later. She leaned forward slightly. Until when? Until I bought a house, and they tried to take it. Silence. They didn't even flinch when they filed that lawsuit, I added, like it was a casual family discussion. That level of entitlement usually stems from long-standing patterns. I nodded. You want patterns? They missed my college graduation to go to her art show. She dropped out 6 weeks later. What did they say? They said, you'll understand. This is a big night for her. And how did you feel? Forgotten? Again, she scribbled a note. Has this happened often? Birthdays, too. Mine got canceled when Tiffany ran away for 24 hours. They threw her a party when she came back. Dr. Mercer blinked. She ran away, and they rewarded her. Yep, she said she needed space to breathe. I just needed cake. Never got it. And when you needed help, I looked at the ceiling. When I needed help, they reminded me I was so capable. That sounds like what we call parentification. I frowned. What? It's when a child is expected to take on adult roles too early, often emotionally or practically. Oh, I muttered. I just called it abandonment. She didn't correct me. I always thought if I did everything right, they'd finally treat me like a daughter, not a backup parent. I said, what happened when you succeeded? They acted like it was inevitable. No celebration. Just a shrug. And Tiffany, she got applause for waking up on time. Dr. Mercer's gaze softened. That must have been painful. It's been my normal for so long, I didn't know it was wrong. Until the lawsuit, I nodded. That's when I realized this wasn't about misunderstanding. This was the culmination. Of what? A life where my feelings never mattered. Only my usefulness. She wrote something again. I stared at my hands. When I was 15, I got a summer job at the library. But my own school supplies. Tiffany stole my debit card and bought clothes online. What happened? They grounded me for leaving my card out. Dr. Mercer's pen froze. You were punished. Yep. Said I should have known better. Did Tiffany face consequences? She cried. They forgave her. Said she had impulse control issues. And you? I cried, too. They told me to grow up. She set the notepad down. Have you ever said any of this to them? I shook my head. They just say I'm overreacting or ungrateful. Do you believe that? I used to. Now, I don't. No. What does your gut say? That I'm tired of carrying a family that wouldn't lift a finger for me. She let that sit in the air a moment. Do you want to confront them? She asked. No, I said. I want to forget them. But they're your parents. I laughed. Exactly. And look what they did to me. She didn't argue. People think betrayal is loud. I continued. But with them, it's always been quiet. Just a door left open for Tiffany. And locked for me. What would justice look like to you? I thought for a moment. Justice, honestly, it's not giving them anything else. No house, no money, no peace at my expense. That sounds like boundaries. That sounds like survival. She nodded again. Boundaries are survival. Especially with people who don't respect your limits. I leaned back. Do you think they love me? Do you feel loved? No, I feel expected. Expected to what? Provide, endure, sacrifice. And if you don't, they make me the villain. Does that scare you? Less now than before. Why less now? Because for the first time, I don't need their version of love. I'm learning mine. She smiled gently. That's powerful. I'm tired of being the reliable one. I want to be the free one. And what does freedom look like for you? I paused. A locked front door. No share keys. No explanations. Just silence I choose. She let that answer settle. Then she said, that's a start. Lisa sat across from me. Laptop open. Glasses low on her nose. Start with every text you've got from your parents. And sister, anything remotely related to money, housing, or expectations. I have years of that. We'll start with the last 6 months. Screenshot everything. Emails too. I nodded. Pulled out my phone. They never put anything in writing, though. They don't need to. Even passive suggestions help build context. I scrolled quickly. Here. This one's from Mom. We always thought you'd do something for the family once you were settled. Lisa's eyebrows rose. Send me that. I kept going. And this one from Tiffany. Don't act like you didn't know I'd be living there eventually. That's gold. I looked up. Is any of this enough? She tapped the table. We're not trying to prove they're bad people. We're proving there was no legal agreement. That matters more. And if they lie in court, then we counter with proof. I hesitated. They're good at sounding sincere. Judges aren't swayed by emotion. They want evidence. I opened another app, receipts, for the loan I repaid Dad, and the wire I sent when they helped with the car repair. Label those. I want them clean and time-stamped. As I typed, Lisa leaned back. You know what scares me about this case? What? It's not about property. It's about power. I met her eyes. They want to remind me who's in charge. She nodded. And you're changing the rules. We worked for ours, building folders, organizing files. Lisa printed the timeline. It stretched across the table. I finally asked, do you know what Tiffany's doing right now? Lisa clicked her pen. Why? Because I checked. Her Instagram's full of cryptic stories about you, about toxic family and being stabbed by someone close. Lisa didn't react. Don't respond. Ever let her perform for her followers? It still hurts. I know. I opened Tiffany's latest post. A selfie with smeared mascara. Caption. Betrayed. But I'll rise. I showed it to Lisa. She's trying to spin this. She's trying to weaponize pity. That doesn't work in court. I looked down. What if it works everywhere else? Lisa closed her laptop. Let me worry about court. You focus on staying sane, I sighed. Too late for that. She smiled. Dark humor. You're doing better than most. I nodded. But the truth's heavier than ever. Later that night, I texted Mom.me. Can we talk calmly? Just you and me. The reply came within minutes. Mom, you've made your choice. That was it. No greeting, no punctuation, just judgment. I stared at it, thumb hovering. I typed and deleted a dozen things. In the end, I said nothing. Instead, I walked to my reading nook, the one I painted sage green with soft cushions and white curtains. I curled up with a blanket and stared at the shelves. I installed myself. Everything in this house had been earned, scrubbed, sanded, built. But tonight, it felt borrowed, haunted. How did one lawsuit turn a home into a war zone? My phone buzzed again. This time, Natalie. Natalie, how'd prep go with Lisa? Me, productive, ugly, quiet. Natalie, you okay? Me, no, but I'm functional. She sent a heart emoji. I wanted to scream, but instead, I opened another drawer, found the envelope Tiffany left weeks ago. Birthday card. Inside, no message. Just a glittery sticker that read keep shining. Fake affection wrapped in sparkle. I tossed it into the trash. Mom's single quotes as text still blinked on my screen. You've made your choice. I whispered it aloud. So have you? Another ping. I sighed. Instagram again. Tiffany's story now read. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones no one defends. I muttered, try being the one no one notices. I turned off my phone. Then I just sat in silence. No music, no noise, no lies. Just the sound of my house, creaks, pipes, the faint hum of the refrigerator. I wondered if it would ever feel like mine again. Miss Walker, your parents and sister are already inside, the receptionist said. Of course they are. I muttered. Lisa gave me a firm nod. Just breathe. Don't let them set the tone. I'm not sure I can keep calm. You don't have to be calm. Just be clear. We walked into the small, neutral-colored conference room. My mother looked up first. Amelia, she said, voice tight. Thank you for coming. I nodded. Sat down across from them. Tiffany avoided my eyes. The mediator, a soft-voiced man named Alan, shoveled papers. We're here to explore possible resolutions outside of court. Let's begin with your goals. My father spoke first. We believe the house should be sold. The proceeds can purchase to smaller homes, one for Amelia, one for Tiffany. I blinked. Are you serious? It seems equitable, he said. I turned to Alan. I bought the house alone. Paid every dollar. Why would I sell it to buy Tiffany a property? Because she deserves security. Tiffany snapped. She deserves what she earns. I replied. I've never had your opportunities. She said. You've had more help than I ever did. That's not true. My father held up a hand. We don't want to fight. You filed a lawsuit. I said. It's already a war. Please. Alan interjected. Let's keep this productive. Amelia. What would you consider a reasonable solution? I exhaled. I'm willing to offer first and last month's rent for Tiffany to help her get a place. That's it. Tiffany's eyes widened. You think I'm a charity case? I think I'm not a bank. I'm your sister. And this is my house. She stood. You're so selfish. Always hoarding everything like it makes you better. I hoarded nothing. I worked. Oh, please. You think being a nurse makes you a saint? Better than quitting 6 jobs in a year. Enough. My mother snapped. This is exactly why we're here. I turned to her. You really believe she deserves half of what I built? She's your family. So am I? I said. Alan cleared his throat. Let's return to concrete options. My father leaned forward. Amelia, this is your chance to make things right, right? What about when I needed help and you called me irresponsible for needing a loan? That's different. How? You always landed on your feet. Because I had no other choice. You make it sound like we didn't love you, my mother said softly. I'm saying you only loved me when I was useful. Tiffany scoffed. That's rich coming from the golden child. You think I was the favorite. I laughed. You were the spotlight. I was the shadow that paid the bills. She crossed her arms. You're cruel. I'm honest. Stop talking down to me. Start living up to something. She slammed her hands on the table. I don't want your rent money. I want security. Then get a job and keep it. Alan tried again. Let's all take a breath. Tiffany stood. I'm done. I knew she wouldn't budge. She never cared about me. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I stared at it, and moving. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We just wanted you to share something like sisters. We're not sisters. We're roles you assigned us. You're being callous. My father said. No, I'm being honest. You just don't like it. Alan sighed. We'll mark this mediation as unsuccessful. I stood. Thanks for your time. Lisa gathered our papers in silence. Outside, I didn't speak until we reached the sidewalk. Lisa glanced at me. You okay? No. But I'm done pretending they'll ever see me as anything but a resource. Case number to first CV 311. Walker versus Walker. The clerk announced. I stood as Judge Harris entered. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear her speak. Lisa leaned toward me. Just breathe. We're ready. Across the courtroom, my parents sat like statues. Tiffany dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Already crying before anything had started. Brennan, their lawyer, stood. Your Honor. This is not just a case about real estate. This is about broken promises within a Family. My clients supported their daughter emotionally and financially for years with the mutual understanding that their more successful child would, in turn, support her sister. I clenched my jaw. Lisa scribbled something dumber. Brennan kept going. Amelia Walker has always been the more practical sibling, while Tiffany Walker has faced personal challenges. There existed, though informal, a clear verbal agreement that once Amelia secured a home, Tiffany would live with her. That agreement has now been cruelly denied. Do you have evidence of this alleged agreement? Judge Harris asked Dutmer. Brennan smiled. The agreement was familial in nature, like many such understandings, not written, but long established through actions and discussions. Lisa stood. Objection, Your Honor. Speculation, sustained. The judge replied. Stick to what can be proven, Mr. Brennan. He nodded. Understood. Tiffany was called first. She stepped up with shaking hands and overly dramatic sniffles. Can you describe your relationship with your sister? Mr. Brennan asked. She's always been distant, she said, voice trembling. But she promised me, years ago, she said when she bought a house, I'd have a room in it, that I'd always have a place. And how did it feel when she shut you out? She burst into full tears, like I was trash. Like I didn't matter. Lisa didn't flinch. Thank you, Tiffany. Brennan said, no further questions. Lisa rose. Miss Walker, did your sister ever put this alleged promise in writing? No. Do you have any record of this agreement? Email, text, voice message? No. But did she ever say it in front of witnesses? No. Lisa paced slowly. Have you received money from your parents recently? I what? Answer the question. Tiffany looked to Mom and Dad. Yes, they helped me. Lisa held up a document. $30,000. Wired to your account 3 weeks before the lawsuit was filed. What was that money for? Personal things? Gambling debts? No, Lisa didn't blink. You're under oath. Miss Walker. Tiffany went. Quiet, no further questions. Lisa said. Dad testified next. Brennan led him through a rehearsed speech about family loyalty and expectations. Judge Harris cut in. Mr. Walker, did you ever tell your daughter Amelia directly that you expected her to provide housing for Tiffany? No, Dad admitted. But it was always understood. Understood by who? Lisa asked when it was her turn. He hesitated. All of us, except Amelia. She should have known. Lisa raised an eyebrow. Because she was the only one responsible. No answer. Mom followed the same pattern. Tears, regret, disappointment. She's turned cold. Mom whispered, this isn't the daughter we raised. When it was finally my turn, Lisa stood with me as I walked to the stand. She handed me the exhibits. Please describe what these are. These are screenshots of text messages from my parents and Tiffany. They show no mention of any shared housing plan, only assumptions. And these, she asked, pointing to the next stack, receipts, repayments for money they gave me, proof I never received a gift under conditions. Did you ever promise Tiffany a room in your house? No. Did you ever agree to co-own property with her? Never. Lisa turned to the judge. We'd also like to present a message sent from Tiffany to a friend acquired through discovery. She handed it to the clerk. Judge Harris read it aloud. Don't worry about the apartment situation. My parents are pressuring Amelia to let me live in her new house. She hasn't agreed yet, but they're convinced they can make her cave. There was never any agreement like they're claiming. She looked up slowly. Miss Walker, did you send this message? Tiffany stammered. I was venting. Truthfully venting. Tiffany didn't answer. Lisa sat back. We rest, Your Honor. The judge called for a short recess. I walked into the hallway. Legs numbed. Lisa leaned beside me. They collapsed their own case. They lied like it was nothing. I whispered, right to her face. I've seen worse, she said, but not by much. I sat on the bench outside the courtroom, staring at the wall. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt hollow. We all stood when Judge Harris re-entered the courtroom. My palms were damp. My legs felt like cement. Lisa whispered, no matter what she says, stay composed. I nodded, barely breathing. Judge Harris adjusted her glasses. after reviewing testimony and all submitted evidence. I've reached a decision. My heart beat once, then again, slower, heavier. There is no credible documentation of any agreement, verbal or otherwise, requiring the defendant to provide housing for her sister. I didn't move. Financial contributions made by the plaintiffs appear to have been given as unconditional support or were repaid. The court finds no legal basis for their claim. Lisa's hand touched mine under the table. Therefore, the claim is dismissed with prejudice. Tiffany gasped. Judge Harris wasn't done. Furthermore, due to the frivolous nature of the lawsuit and the emotional and financial toll placed on the defendant, the plaintiffs are ordered to cover all legal expenses incurred. Tiffany let out a choked sob. I couldn't look at her. Court is adjourned, the judge said. The gavel fell. Tiffany stood suddenly. You're evil, she shouted. You ruined everything. I stayed in my seat. She turned to our parents. You promised me. Then she ran, heels clacking down the aisle out the doors. Mom looked stunned. Dad's jaw was locked. Lisa leaned toward me. It's over, I whispered. Is it? You won? Feels like I buried something. Maybe you did. I looked over at them. They're not even looking at me. Let them sit in it. I stood slowly. I thought I'd feel better. You will, just not today. We walked out together. The courtroom echoed behind me like the closing of a vault. Outside, Natalie was waiting. Her arms wrapped around me. How'd it go? I won. She pulled back. That's amazing. I feel sick. We walked to my car. I didn't say much. Neither did she. I got in and drove home alone. The house was quiet when I stepped in. Too quiet. I put my keys down, took off my shoes, stared at the wall. The living room looked exactly the same, but I felt like a stranger in it. I sat on the floor, not the couch. I didn't want comfort. I wanted stillness. I opened my phone. One message from Lisa. Lisa, I'll file the reimbursement claim this week. You did great. Then another. Natalie, I'm proud of you. You're safe now. But I didn't feel safe. I felt exposed and loved, empty. I curled up on the rug, arms round my knees, and I cried, not loud, not broken. Just slow, tired tears. Tears that didn't ask why. Tears that already knew. They chose her again. And this time, they used the law to do it. I wiped my face. You did it, I whispered. You kept your house, but I lost everything else. The knock came on a Saturday afternoon. I opened the door slowly. My father stood there, hands in his pockets. Can I come in? I hesitated, then stepped aside. We sat in silence for a while. He cleared his throat. You've done a lot with the place. Thanks. The paints new. I needed something lighter. He nodded. Looks good. I waited. He looked down. I owe you an apology. You think I was wrong? We were wrong. I crossed my arms. Why now? Tiffany confessed. About the money, the texts, the gambling. She lied to you. We believed her. Out of fear, I stared at him. You tried to take my home. I know, and I regret it. You didn't even ask for the truth. She was scared. We panicked. We thought that I'd fix it. He didn't answer. I leaned forward. You didn't just fail me. You tried to punish me for succeeding. You're right. I blinked. Say that again. You're right. It didn't fix anything, but it mattered. He stood. We're paying your legal fees entirely. It's the least we can do. Where's Mom? She's still processing. I didn't respond. He opened the door. I'm sorry. Amelia. Okay, and he left. 3 days later, I got the text. Mom, coffee? I replied. Neutral place. 1 hour. We met at a small cafe. She looked older, tired. I wanted to see you, she said. I nodded. You've seen enough of me in court. That's not fair. It's true. She reached across the table. I'm sorry. I pulled my hand back. Too soon. She nodded. Tiffany manipulated us. You let her? I should have asked you directly. I didn't want to believe she'd lie. You believed what was convenient. I'm not proud of that. Double quote silence. She wiped her eyes. Can you ever forgive me? I don't know. She sniffled. We thought you were so strong. We didn't realize you were alone. I was always alone. You just never looked. She nodded. Slowly, Can I see the house again? Someday, maybe. We left it there. Weeks passed. Therapy helped. I said things I hadn't said aloud. I don't want to be the strong one anymore. I told Dr. Mercer. You don't have to be, she said. You just have to be real. I adopted a dog, a golden, mixed with soft eyes, named him Chance. I repainted the bedroom, pulled weeds from the yard, but new bookshelves. Natalie visited every Sunday. We grilled, laughed. The house stopped echoing. One morning, I got a text from my cousin, Taylor. Tiffany's in rehab, Duluth, 30-day inpatient. I didn't reply. A week later, she's working part-time now. Art center. Still no reply. But I read it twice. I looked around my home, my furniture, my quiet, my peace. Tiffany wasn't in it. And for once, that felt right. More wine. Natalie called from the kitchen. Only if it's the cheap kind, I said, grinning. She held out the bottle. Always. The living room buzzed with voices. Jordan from work was deep in conversation with Mrs. Chen, my neighbor. Taylor, my cousin, laughed with someone from my pottery class. I stepped out into the backyard, glass in hand. Chance trotted behind me, tail wagging, tongue out. Hey, host, Jordan called after me. This party's kind of amazing, kind of. I raised an eyebrow. He held up his hands. Okay, fine. Fully amazing. Natalie joined me outside. You good? I nodded. Better than good. You made it? I did. She nudged me. 1 year ago, you were crying on the floor. Now, I'm barefoot in my backyard with a dog and a full glass of wine. Progress? I looked around. I built this. All of it? You sure did. The sun dipped lower. Lights strung across the yard flickered on. Remember when I thought this house might never feel like mine? I asked, vividly. I was wrong. You usually aren't. I'm glad I was. Laughter burst from the porch behind us. Someone dropped a plate. Someone else clapped. Chosen family, I said quietly. Natalie smiled. The best kind. Mrs. Chen walked over, carrying a tray. Homemade dumplings. You said, you eat? Yes, ma'am. Jordan followed behind. She's been bossing everyone round like she owns the place. She kind of does, I said. Natalie raised her glass. To Amelia, I blinked. Wait, what? Jordan stood tall. To the woman who fought harder than anyone I know, Mrs. Chen added. To strength, Taylor chimed in. To peace, everyone raised their glasses. I whispered. To home, we drank. Later, as the night thinned and voices faded, I sat in my favorite spot on the porch swing. Chance cold at my feet. I looked round at the glowing lights, the empty glasses, the laughter still echoing in the corners of my mind. My home, not just the wood and walls, but the life within it. I ran my fingers over the armrest, closed my eyes, and whispered, this is my house, my life, my peace.